He brought Lil Wayne into the Colorado clubhouse last week. Did you see that video?
It was awesome.
Lil Wayne looks at the clubhouse. He goes, I'm not gonna lie, man. He's like, this is not good. And Deion's like, what do you mean? He's like, because you guys aren't gonna be upset when you come in after a loss, because you can hang out in here. It's a pretty funny line.
So nice, yeah.
What happens when Coach Prime links with Lil Wayne and the cameras roll at just the wrong time for the haters? Let's just say silence has never been so loud. Deion Sanders didn't have to say a single word. His vibe alone sent critics into full meltdown mode. The footage? Yeah, it hit harder than a blindside blitz and left the group chats in shambles. We're talking shades, swagger, and a surprise cameo that snapped the internet in half. If Confidence had a soundtrack, this would be it. Buckle up. This moment is pure prime time.
I don't have bad days, man. I may have a bad moment, maybe even a bad hour, but never a bad day. I don't, because I set my own thermostat. Ain't nobody gonna get me hot but me. But I got so many interesting chapters, man. Master the 3 W's. You gotta want it, you gotta work it, then you gotta win it.
I know that's right.
Now, how bad do you want it? Because if you want it bad enough, you go work it. Then if you do those two, you're gonna win. There you go. It's chapters like that, man, that I give you real life lessons and where I took a left when I should have stayed right, but that I got back right.
Oh, and you get.
But I took a left though.
So you give personal advice.
I got to.
From experience.
They figured the Deion Sanders hype train had finally derailed. The doubters murmured that the shine was fading, that the magic was wearing off, and that Coach Prime was slipping from icon to internet punchline. In their eyes, he was just flash with no fire, yesterday's headline in overpriced shades. The usual suspects, Twitter trolls, couch critics, and washed-up talking heads, lined up to call it curtains, eager to stamp finished on a legacy they never understood in the first place.
No, you don't need to hammer home a player. A player knows. I mean, he could fool himself and trick himself, but when he looks at the mirror, he knows what he's looking at. Something like this is I'm not going to say, people around the country would say this is what they needed to humble themselves. We wasn't arrogant or whatever. We're confident people. If our confidence offends your insecurity, that's the problem with you. It's not us. We expect to do well. We expect to play well. We expect to win every game we step out there. We expect to practice to perfection and go out there and execute the things that we practice. We just didn't do it today. But it's not something that was needed. It's just like saying you get in a car wreck or something. Oh, he needed that to slow him down. You don't need it.
If you enjoying, please leave a like and subscribe our channel. While they were busy counting him out, Deion Sanders was busy crafting a new headline. True to prime form, he didn't respond with words, no rants, no clapbacks, just presence, bold, magnetic, and dripping with the kind of energy no critic could fake. One moment, the noise was deafening. The next, a single video dropped, and it didn't just quiet the doubters, it shamed them. No speeches, no over-the-top spectacle, just Coach Prime, walking like he owned the moment. Because he did. Cool, composed, and completely unfazed. That wasn't a response. That was a statement.
It's black fatherhood that's bothering the NFL. Huh? And then you say, oh, they're being arrogant and this, that, and really arrogant? No, they're confident, that's all. They're confident, and they prove themselves. And if they prove themselves wrong, they're the first person. When Deion Sanders will lose a game, he'll go, hey, that's all right, we just gotta get better. It's okay, we just gotta get better, we gotta just keep working. We gotta keep working, we gotta move on. He even admits it. That's a real athlete, that's a real champion. He's a championship athlete, championship coach, championship captain.
And walking shoulder to shoulder with him? None other than Lil Wayne. Not an impersonator, not a tribute act. The rap legend himself. Diamond grill gleaming, decades of hits under his belt, and cultural influence that needs no introduction. Their meetup wasn't staged for clicks, it was effortless power. A masterclass in mutual respect. This wasn't Deion chasing the spotlight, he is the spotlight. And that clip? That wasn't just a mic drop, it was an arena-level encore.
Sometimes you got to know what you know. They're going to call it cockiness, they're going to call it arrogance, but you're going to call it confidence. Because I don't want my confidence to, I'm going to say something and I want you to hold on to it, all right? Get your cameras ready because this is game. Do not allow my confidence to offend your insecurity. If I could get up and dance, I would dance right now. If I could get up and shout, I would shout right now. Do not allow my confidence to offend your insecurity, because I dress like I dress because I'm confident. I look like I look because he's confident. We walk like...
The moment the footage surfaced, the internet combusted. Why? Because this wasn't just two icons catching up over barbecue. This was a declaration, a silent mic drop. Coach Prime didn't need to say a word. He just needed to show up and remind everyone that purpose walks taller than pain. And with Wayne in tow, well, that was just sauce on top of the steak. See, the haters had been circling like vultures at a tailgate. Deion missed practices, clearly he's finished. Dropped a few pounds, must be falling apart. Left Boulder for Texas, game over. The level of overreaction would make a soap opera blush. You'd think he walked off a battlefield, not took time to heal. But when you're Deion Sanders, silence is treated like scandal. And let's not pretend the media wasn't salivating. Deion's health scare turned into headline bait, with more speculation than a conspiracy subreddit. Some whispered blood clots, others threw out dire diagnoses like darts at a rumor board. Forget compassion, they wanted a collapse. They weren't checking for his well-being, they were writing his eulogy. Contrast that with the Lincoln Rileys of the world. Miss a few practices, and suddenly it's respect his privacy and family comes first. But when Coach Prime taps out to deal with a serious illness, boom, full-blown panic room. As if Deion's mere absence is enough to send college football into DEFCON 1.
Your whole life, you've been divisive. People
Yeah,
really
when
love
I
you.
came out the womb, I was booed.
Right, or they really don't, right?
Yeah.
So, and a lot of those don'ts have been very vocal this week. What's your message to them? And then what do you tell your
I don't
locker
have a
room
message to detractors or haters. I don't have a message. I don't take my time to respond and to defend myself. Why would I do that? I'm giving you a microphone if I'm doing that. I'm giving you solace that you're in my life. I don't care. I really don't. So if it's been that way all my life, you would think that I'm used to it. I'm not new to this. I'm true to this, and I keep going. So I'm good with that, man.
Now tossed Lil Wayne into the equation, because if there's one thing louder than Deion's chain game, it's Wayne's presence. And what did that moment signal? It screamed resilience. It screamed unity. It whispered legacy into the ears of those waiting to see Sanders stumble. This wasn't a casual pop-in. It was strategic energy, a power move wearing diamond grills. For months, critics painted Deion as a fading comet, bright, brief, and burning out. But what this footage did was prove he's not some novelty act coasting on reputation. He's a cultural force, impossible to ignore, and even harder to predict. A calculated reappearance, dressed not in cleats, but in control. And Lil Wayne? That wasn't a celebrity cameo, it was an alignment. One icon standing beside another, not to entertain, but to endorse. Because even if Prime's ankle says slow down, his mindset is still running a no-huddle offense through every narrative they try to bury him in. The haters wanted confirmation he was done. What they got was confirmation they were delusional. And let's get real, a lot of that energy has less to do with coaching and more to do with control. Because Deion Sanders doesn't play by the old rules. He doesn't whisper, he doesn't beg. He walks into the room like he owns it because, let's be honest, half the time he does. That's uncomfortable for people who prefer their black coaches quiet, humble, and conveniently invisible.
You know what the bigger issue is here? Go ahead. What do we value more? Building systems of success for young black children, or being accepted by white people? That's what this is about. Deion went to Colorado not for the money, because he wanted to prove to white people he could coach white children. Did y'all see all the celebrities?
God dang. Somebody get Umar Johnson. Why are these men like him so brainwashed? What sense does it make to have an ideology that's so destructive that it puts black people in a negative position no matter what?
At Jackson State, they called him a gimmick. At Colorado, they called him arrogant. He leaves one and upgrades to another, and suddenly he's a traitor to his culture. Imagine being so committed to misunderstanding someone that even their progress makes you mad. But let's talk about that video again. Because while the world waited for signs of weakness, what they got was a reminder. Deion Sanders doesn't just survive. He redefined. That wasn't a comeback clip, that was a flex. A limp? Sure, but that limp looked like victory. That smile? That was a man who knows his comeback is about to be louder than the critics ever were. And here's the truth that keeps everyone rattled. Deion refuses to shrink himself for comfort. He doesn't tone it down to make others feel big. He knows his value, speaks his mind, and dares to be excellent without asking for permission. That offends people. Because we live in a world that wants charisma boxed up, packaged neatly, and approved by gatekeepers who never had a fraction of the vision he carries. The video wasn't just a moment, it was a statement. Surrounded by energy, joy, and people who get it, he looked like a man still 10 steps ahead. Not limping, leading. Not fading, rising. And the presence of Lil Wayne, that wasn't random, that was synergy. Two giants in their respective lanes, both unapologetically themselves, meeting in a moment the haters couldn't manufacture or control.
I think we're gonna finally see, for all of the hoopla and all of the hype going into the offseason with Deion Sanders in Colorado, it does not mask the fact that they don't have any players on that roster.
Watch and see whether he can win the game or not, which very few people think he can. I think the spotlight that will be on him Saturday morning will not carry well to the next week. Your rundown for SportsCenter, you don't go, Colorado, they're 0-3. That's a good story. Why don't we lead with that today? He's going to be very angry, very cantankerous, and really will do some more damage than good.
This isn't about football anymore. It's about legacy, ownership, cultural power. It's about what happens when someone refuses to play the role they've been assigned and decides to flip the whole script instead. The system doesn't know how to handle Deion Sanders because he's not playing their game. He's building a new one, with new rules, new players, and a soundtrack loud enough to drown out the noise. And let's not ignore the Lil Wayne of it all, because when Tunechi pulls up, it's not by accident. That's solidarity. That's culture recognizing culture. Two self-made giants, walking side by side, reminding us all that Black excellence doesn't come with a dress code or a volume knob. It comes raw, unfiltered, and unstoppable. Wayne didn't just appear, he co-signed. That's not a cameo, that's a cultural stamp. You don't get that kind of presence unless you've earned a seat at the high table of authenticity. What you witnessed wasn't a celebrity drop-in, it was royalty acknowledging royalty. The kind of energy you can't fake or manufacture. Because when you move through life on your own terms, the real ones gravitate. And that's exactly what happened here. A gravitational pull of unapologetic Black brilliance refusing to dim its glow for fragile eyes.
I believe, these buffs out here believe, but there's still a lot of haters who don't believe, a lot of doubters who don't believe. What's your message to those that's praying on the downfall, man?
We're going to be consistent. We're going to do what we do, but we in this thing for the long haul. It's not a sprint. This is a marathon. And I promise you, when I've said and I looked in that camera and I made eye contact, I said, you better get me now. I'm not playing. I'm not lying because I know what we have on tap. I know the kind of recruits we're bringing in here. I know the understanding, the philosophies, and the expertise of the coaching staff. I know what it's going to be. And it's going to be that more sooner than later.
And while the media fixated on the limp, they missed the walk. Deion wasn't being paraded, he was present. He looked like a man who'd stared down the storm, wiped off the rain, and said, "All right, let's keep going." They zoomed in on the cane but forgot the crown. The man's been through surgeries, criticism, setbacks. None of it changed the tempo of his strut. It only sharpened his edge. What makes Deion so threatening isn't that he talks loud, it's that he means it. It's that every time the system tells him no, he creates his own yes. He turned Jackson State into a media magnet. He turned Colorado into a cultural landmark, and he did it wearing chains, quoting scripture, and never asking for permission. He's the blueprint and the outlier at the same time. A walking paradox who blends suits with sneakers and Sunday school wisdom with sideline swagger. They try to box him in because they can't figure out how he keeps rewriting the playbook while they're still memorizing the old one. That's why he rattles cages, because he's not performing, he's transforming. He's not just recruiting athletes, he's mobilizing momentum. And with every headline, every viral moment, every so-called controversy, he's reminding the world that charisma doesn't have to be whitewashed to be legitimate.
Deion Sanders isn't becoming a coach or accepting a job to make millions of dollars to be a coach to show the world he can coach white people. Because ain't nobody on his team white. He got 5 white dudes on his team. Both his boys are playing on his team. Quarterback, defensive back, 5-star athletes at defensive back, defensive line, offensive line probably got 3 white people and he got a safety that's white. He's trying to prove what? Black people, like Umar, just be happy for the brother. He was making like $300,000 working at the HBCU. They were screwing him over, not giving him money like they promised. They had no resources. He go to Colorado and he's making $4 million.
Because when Deion shows up, he doesn't just show out, he shifts the room. And when Lil Wayne walks beside him, that's not noise, that's history. Now here comes the kicker. While Coach Prime was healing in Texas, the Buffaloes weren't crumbling. The program he built is still pulsing with his energy. His son, Shedier, is still prepping like the Heisman's already in his dorm. The recruits are still rolling in like it's Black Friday at Foot Locker. Because Deion doesn't coach with just playbooks. He coaches with belief. And belief is contagious. This is what his critics don't understand. You can doubt a body, you can underestimate a limp, but you cannot shut down a movement. And Prime isn't just a man. He's a movement with a cowboy hat and a Bluetooth headset. They said he'd fade, but he didn't. They said he'd crack under pressure, but he smiled. They said he'd never belong, but now he is the culture. They wanted receipts, he gave them footage. And let's get a little spiritual for a second, because that's how Deion rolls. This man didn't come out of a hospital bed with a press badge pinned to his chest. He came out wrapped in faith, backed by his family, and flanked by rap royalty. What were they expecting? A press junket? Deion's recovery wasn't for ratings, it was for renewal. While the doubters whispered behind screens and buried their hopes in hot takes, Deion was evolving. Not resting, not retreating, evolving. His presence, whether on the field or through a screen, is kinetic. His aura travels. His name rings out not because he's loud, but because he's resonant.
I know you like a book, and you know how much I love you, and I know how you feel about me. Yeah. You was mad, wasn't you, at the folks?
I was. Because they only see what you didn't do, and they don't give you credit for what you did do. And I was very disappointed in that.
When you heard the criticism that was coming, that you were leaving, what went through your mind?
Well, people are hurt. And when people are hurt, oftentimes their first response isn't the response that should be given.
Okay.
They say things out of emotions and anger, but I listen. Because when a person says stuff, that's what they really feel.
Okay.
When they're...
Meanwhile, the team he left in Boulder, still laser-focused, still prime-trained, still walking with that Deion-style swagger like they've been baptized in swagger sauce. Because it's not about Deion standing on the sidelines. It's about what he planted before stepping away. These athletes weren't just taught how to run routes or read defenses. They were taught how to carry purpose in their pads. And when that footage dropped, when Lil Wayne popped up beside him like a hip-hop guardian angel, it wasn't just a flex. It was a cinematic mic drop, a message in motion, a visual thesis on why Prime doesn't need approval from critics who've never built anything. This is bigger than cleats and clipboards. It's about legacy in real time. They mocked his methods. Now they mimic his model, because when Prime moves, people don't just watch, they recalibrate. The media couldn't write this story because it doesn't fit their template. It's not tragic enough to pity, and it's too triumphant to ignore. The man was off the grid and still controlled the narrative. That's not just power, that's prime time. Every post from his ranch wasn't just a photo op. It was a sermon. It was Coach Prime reminding everyone that resilience isn't loud. Sometimes it walks slowly with a limp and a rapper by its side. But it walks forward. Always forward. And here's the uncomfortable truth. If this were a white coach getting love from, say, Garth Brooks, while recovering on a scenic ranch, the media would be penning love letters. It'd be a Hallmark documentary in the making.
Donkey of the Day for Monday, December 5th goes to everyone out there who is slandering Deion Sanders because he decided to leave Jackson State University for the Colorado Buffaloes. And I understand if you are hurt that Deion Sanders is leaving Jackson State. I totally get it. It's Deion Sanders. All right, the man brought so much positive attention to that program, the SWAC conference and HBCUs, but instead of calling the man a sellout, how about appreciate what that man brought to the table? There's absolutely nothing about his coaching track record that shows he's about to.
But because it's Deion and Lil Wayne, is this professional? Is he focused? Translation: why won't he shrink himself like we want him to? But shrinking has never been on Deion's to-do list. This man has built his life, his entire identity, on expanding expectations. And now, even from the shadows, he's pulling focus. Make no mistake, his return to Boulder will not be quiet. Whether it's on two legs or one, whether he's calling plays from the sideline or the skybox, the moment he steps back in that building, the culture shifts. The temperature changes. The movement roars. Colorado wasn't just waiting on a coach, they were waiting on him. And now that we've seen the footage, the message is loud and clear. He's not done, not even close. The haters will keep talking, that's fine, it's what they do best. But Deion Sanders doesn't need to reply. His life is the clapback, his presence is the proof. And that video? That's not a comeback story, that's a continuation. Because Prime doesn't fade, he flips the script. And the latest footage? Consider it page 1 of the next chapter. So keep your speculation, keep your think pieces. Coach Prime just walked with Lil Wayne and reminded the world that some legends don't retire, they reload. And now the world waits, not with pity, but with popcorn. Because Deion Sanders is still here.